I was the Velvet Freeze field trip. Me and my niece and Margaret in the Velvet Freeze. Over here. Velvet Freeze on West Florissant, guys. They are still open for business. Doing the COVAX to serve our children and get them all sugared up and sweetened up. And we appreciate them being open because we are empty. Thank you. Come and visit Velvet Freeze, guys.
Instead of preparing to go to graduation, a North County family is now preparing for a double funeral. The family of Sharice Fisher and Jordan Lunar Williams. I spoke to them and they are heartbroken. Jordan, a senior at Rittner High School, was just crowned prom queen when she was killed alongside her mom, Sharice Fisher, in a triple fatal crash on Friday in Bellefontaine Neighbors off of Highway 367. Sharice had just adopted Jordan after her father passed. And now that these two are gone, the family is left in heartbreak. They wanted to celebrate Jordan, and now they will have to celebrate her life.
I pray that St. Louis steps up. How many more do we need before they step up and make a change?
I'm not angry, I'm hurt. That little boy that took my mom's life was only 20 years old. To take his life away from him would be not what my mom wanted.
Jordan had just been voted prom queen by her whole school. 7 days later, her family was burying her instead of watching her graduate. And the man who took her life did not even stop to look back. Before we get into what happened on that highway, you need to know who we are talking about, because these were not just names in a news report.
She gave you such a sense of hope, a sense of pride, a sense of security, a sense of just yourself, you know. She stood out everywhere she went. It was amazing.
Just gonna miss them both. My heart longs for my daughter. I hurt every day.
Jordan Lunar Williams was 18 years old, a senior at Rittner High School in St. Louis County, Missouri, and she was weeks away from graduating. Everything she had been working toward was right there in front of her. And just before the crash, her classmates voted her prom queen, which is one of those moments that feels small from the outside, but means everything when you're 18 and you have been grinding through school year after year. What made Jordan stand out was not just that she won the crown, it was how she showed up for the moment. She designed her own prom dress and sewed the bodice herself by hand. Her nickname, Lunar, fit her well. She was outgoing but not flashy, the kind of girl whose presence you feel before you can explain why. Her favorite color was purple, and that detail would come back in a way that broke a lot of hearts once the memorials started. Beyond the prom crown, Jordan spent her school years doing things that most teenagers that age are not even thinking about. She volunteered at the Renaissance Snack Shack, a fundraising program at Rittner that raised money to reward students who showed up academically, stayed consistent with attendance, and carried themselves with good character. Her great-aunt Evelyn Renee Williams described her at the family memorial, and you could hear it in her voice how much this girl meant to everyone around her.
They were so loving. Everybody loved both of them. You know, Jordy, and she was so outgoing, you know, very energized. You know, she had a lot of energy in her, you know. And Sharice, she was the backbone. She was the backbone of the family.
Now let's talk about the woman in that driver's seat, because her story is just as important. Sharice Fisher was 53 years old, and she was Jordan's biological aunt. When Jordan's father passed away, Sharice didn't step back and leave that girl to figure things out on her own. She stepped all the way forward. She took Jordan in and adopted her, raising her alongside her own biological daughter, Erica Robinson. And from that point on, anyone in that family circle would tell you Sharice and Jordan were mother and daughter in every way that counted. Erica called her mother a superwoman, and that word was not used lightly. Sharice was the kind of person who absorbed the hard moments so everyone else could stay steady. She was the backbone of that family, the one who kept things standing. Then there is Andrea Medina, 28 years old, from Florissant, Missouri, and a mother of 2 young kids, ages 6 and 1. Andrea had nothing to do with Jordan or Cherise. She didn't know them. She was just heading north on that same highway that Friday evening, going about her night the same way any of us would. Her brother, Juan Medina, told reporters she was a hard-working, kind-hearted, and dedicated mother who was just getting started in life. A 6-year-old and a 1-year-old were at home waiting for her. She never made it back to them.
We're learning new information tonight about a fatal crash on Highway 367 in Bellefontaine Neighbors that claimed 3 lives. The victims include 2 moms and a promising student just named Prom Queen. Our story tonight from 5 on Your Side's Melanie Johnson in North County.
This is one of the last pictures of Jordan Williams before her life was cut short. A night of celebration after being crowned Prom Queen. Rittner High School confirming with 5 on Your Side, the 18-year-old, one of 3 victims killed in a deadly crash on Highway 367 in Bellefontaine Neighbors. The district sending out this letter over the weekend saying, quote, "It is with a heavy heart that I have to share the news of the passing of one of our students, Jordan Lunar Williams, passed away Friday night in an auto accident. This is a difficult time for our entire community."
3 women, all of them building something, all of them with people who needed them to come home, and none of them went home that night. Now you need to understand exactly what happened on that road and who put them in that situation. On May 1st, 2026, Cherise Fisher was behind the wheel of her 2020 Lexus RX 350, heading south on Lewis and Clark Boulevard through the Bellefontaine Neighbors area of North St. Louis County, Missouri. Jordan was in the passenger seat. They had been out celebrating because Jordan had just been crowned Prom Queen, and this was still that weekend, still that feeling of joy and excitement, a mother and her daughter riding together on a Friday night. Jordan had her seatbelt on, Cherise did not. Lewis and Clark Boulevard, also known as Highway 367, is a multi-lane road that runs through North St. Louis County. It's the kind of road that communities depend on for everyday travel, but it has a well-documented history of serious crashes. By the time May 1st arrived, that road had already seen 6 separate incidents in 2026 alone, including a separate fatal wrong-way crash just the month before in April. This was the road Cherise was driving that night, and it was the road Daugherty chose to get on with no valid license. At around 8:32 in the evening, a 2013 Cadillac SRX, driven by 20-year-old Devin Daugherty, came up on the same southbound stretch of road behind them. According to the official Missouri State Highway Patrol crash report, Daugherty's Cadillac sideswiped the back of Cherise's Lexus. That one collision sent the Lexus completely out of control and across the center line into oncoming northbound traffic. Andrea Medina, who was driving her 2013 Toyota Highlander northbound, had no time to react before the front of her truck slammed into the right side of the Lexus. The force of that impact caused the Lexus to flip over completely. Cherise and Jordan were both killed. Andrea was also killed, pronounced dead at the scene by Christian Hospital EMS at 8:43 p.m., just 11 minutes after the crash happened. There was nothing anyone could do by the time help arrived.
Jordan killed alongside her 53-year-old aunt. State troopers say the Lexus she was in was sideswiped, forcing the car into oncoming traffic where it was struck by a Toyota. The impact caused the Lexus to overturn and Jordan and the driver in the Lexus and Toyota. Investigators say there was a 3rd vehicle involved in this deadly crash. Bellefontaine police still looking to locate that driver for questioning. Police say that Cadillac crashed into a tree.
This is my neck of the woods. I've grown up right in this area, so when I keep seeing things like this happening, it's really devastating because we take this road to work all the time, so that could have been us.
For Kiana Sherwood and Joshua Harris of Harrison Hall Dove-Release, the tragedy is personal.
I've lost my friend on 367 earlier this year.
Now they are offering free memorial services to all 3 families.
we just really want the families to know and understand that even though this is a tragic incident, that their loved ones won't be forgotten, at least not by us.
As they reflect on the 5 other funerals they've serviced for victims on this exact stretch of road, the pair hopes this is a wake-up call for action.
Now here's the part that makes this whole thing so much worse. After Daugherty's Cadillac ran off the right side of the road and hit the trees, you would expect a person to get out of their car and at least try to help the people their vehicle just sent into traffic. Call an ambulance, stay at the scene, or do something. Instead, Daugherty got out of that Cadillac and walked away. He left 3 women dying on a public highway without making a single call and without looking back at what he just caused. Then the full picture came out and made it even harder to stomach. Daugherty had been driving on a revoked or suspended license. The state had already taken away his right to drive before any of this happened. When the state takes your license, you know you're not supposed to be behind the wheel, and you make a decision about whether to follow that or not. He chose to get in that car on a Friday night on a busy highway with no valid license, and that choice put Sharice and Jordan and Andrea in the path of something they never saw coming and couldn't avoid.
I pray that St. Louis steps up. How many more do we need before they step up and make a change here?
In North County, Melanie Johnson, 5 on your side.
The Missouri State Highway Patrol says the investigation is still ongoing. Highway 367 on Lewis and Clark has seen 6 other wrecks just since January. Grief counselors will be at Rittner School on Monday, the high school, to offer support to students and staff.
It should have been a week of graduation, caps and gowns for a Rittner High School senior. Instead, a North St. Louis County family is making funeral arrangements. Jordan Lunar Williams was just 18 years old and just crowned prom queen. She and her mother, Sharice Fisher, were in a triple fatal car crash on Highway 367 Friday. In a 5 on Your Side exclusive, Melanie Johnson shares how they're now preparing for a final farewell.
And Kelly, the woman who spent years making sure her high school senior reached the graduation stage, right beside her just days before they could celebrate that victory together. The family remembered more than just a prom queen tonight, but a superwoman who raised a ray of sunshine.
She's my superwoman. She's my mom.
A double loss.
But I've watched that little girl since the day she came out that womb, and she's everything to me.
Instead of cheering for that little girl in a cap and gown, Erica is now preparing to say a final goodbye. Her sister, Jordan Lunar Williams, and mother, Sharice Fisher, were both Friday in a triple fatal crash in Bellfound Neighbors on Highway 367.
She gave you such a sense of hope, a sense of pride, a sense of security, a sense of just yourself.
Sharice recently adopted the Rittner High School student, crowned prom queen days before the crash. Jordan's favorite color, purple, blanketing the campus with heartfelt letters left by classmates.
You know, she stood out. Everywhere she went, it was amazing.
As the family prepares to receive Jordan's diploma at graduation.
And I don't want any of her schoolmates or classmates to ever feel like this is the end, because it's not the end. If you knew Jordan, she reached for the stars, so I want you to reach for them too.
For the driver police say is responsible, Erica is choosing to lead with the grace her mother lived by. Devin Doherty charged with 3 counts of fleeing the scene and driving with a revoked or suspended license.
I'm not angry, I'm hurt. That little boy that took my mom's life was only 20 years old. To take his life away from him would be not what my mom wanted.
3 lives were cut short that Friday, including 28-year-old mom Andrea Medina. The family plans to hold the funerals of Jordan and Sharice together. They are in need of flowers for the service as well as financial contributions. If you would like to help, we have that donation link for you in this story at ksdk.com.
People in that community had been asking for better barriers, more lighting, stronger enforcement on that road for years, and the changes never came. This crash was the 7th in 2026, and it cost 3 lives. Christian Hospital EMS had to pronounce all 3 women dead right there without even being able to transport them to a hospital because the injuries were that unsurvivable. The tow trucks that came in, Boland's Towing, handled all 3 vehicles, and those cars became evidence the moment investigators arrived. Every scratch, point of impact, and dent tells a story in a crash reconstruction. And the story these 3 cars told matched exactly what the witness accounts and road evidence confirmed. Daugherty's Cadillac had sideswiped the Lexus, and the chain reaction that followed killed 3 people in less than a minute. Once the scene was secured that night, Missouri State Highway Patrol's Major Crash Investigation Unit took over the case. This is a specialized unit that gets called in specifically when a crash results in multiple deaths, and they work the scene the same careful way a homicide unit works a crime scene. They measure everything, document every piece of evidence, and piece together exactly what happened. They located the abandoned Cadillac, documented the damage from the sideswipe and the tree collision, and started following the vehicle registration back to its owner. That trail led straight to Devin Daugherty. And here's the detail that nobody expected. It was his own mother who contacted police and told them her son was home. She called them. She told them where he was. Whatever she went through in the 3 days after that crash, she made the decision to turn her own son in, and that's how investigators found him so quickly. Daugherty was arrested on the morning of May 4th, 2026, 3 days after the crash, at the family home. He was taken in without any trouble.
St. Louis County Police say Devin Daugherty was driving the Cadillac involved in that crash. He's now facing charges for leaving the scene and driving on a revoked or suspended license.
The St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office filed the charges on the same day. 3 separate counts of leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, 1 count for each woman who died, plus 1 count of driving while his license was revoked or suspended. Under Missouri law, each of those leaving the scene charges is a serious felony on its own, and with 3 of them stacked together, a conviction could mean decades in prison. His bond was set to $250,000, cash only, no smaller payment option allowed. The full amount, in cash, has to be put up before he can walk out of that jail. As of the time we are recording this, he is still sitting in St. Louis County Jail. A hearing was scheduled for May 11th, but no public update on what happened at that hearing has been released. One thing worth paying close attention to is what he has not been charged with yet. There are no charges for reckless driving, no vehicular homicide charges, and no charges tied to any possible drug or alcohol impairment. The investigation is still ongoing, and investigators have not released any toxicology results or any data pulled from the vehicle's black boxes. The charges filed so far are about what he did after the crash, specifically the act of leaving 3 dying women on a public highway without calling for help. What caused the initial sideswipe and whether any additional charges are coming is still very much an open question, and the community is watching closely. While all of that was playing out in the courts, the people who loved Jordan and Sharice were trying to find a way to keep going. Jordan's biological mother, Jennifer Nicole Walker Gibson, spoke at the family memorial and said something that put the weight of the whole situation into words. "My heart longs for my daughter. I hurt every day." Jennifer had watched her sister Sharice step up and raise Jordan after Jordan's father passed. She had watched that girl grow into a prom queen and then lost both of them in the same crash on the same night. That is a level of pain that is hard to even put words around. Erica Robinson, Sharice's biological daughter, said the crash wiped out the 2 brightest lights in her life on the same evening. She lost her mother and the sister she had known since birth, and instead of getting ready for Jordan's graduation, she was now planning a double funeral. The family asked the community for help covering the costs of the services and flowers, because nobody budgets for something like that. Instead of preparing to go to graduation, a North County family is now preparing for a double funeral.
Friends and family are still grieving after a car crash claimed the lives of a high school prom queen and her aunt. It happened a little more than a week ago on Highway 367 near Lewis and Clark. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski shares how the victims are being remembered. Laura.
Mike, loved ones remembered Jordan Williams and her aunt Sharice Fisher as the truly caring and generous people they were, taking time to share memories, pictures, and prayer for both ladies before releasing purple and white balloons and doves into the sky. Sharice and Jordan were killed after a Cadillac sideswiped their car. Another woman, Andrea Medina, also died at the scene. Williams' family says she was set to graduate from Rittner High School and had just been crowned prom queen. Friends and family say they both had so much life left to live and were taken too soon.
They were so loving. Everybody loved both of them. You know, Jordy, and she was so outgoing, you know, very energized. You know, she had a lot of energy in her, you know. And Sharice, she was the backbone. She was the backbone of the family.
I'm just gonna miss them both. My heart longs for my daughter. I hurt every day.
St. Louis County Police say Devin Doherty was driving the Cadillac involved in that crash. He's now facing charges for leaving the scene and driving on a revoked or suspended license.
The family of Sharice Fisher and Jordan Luna Williams, Jordan, a senior at Rittner High School, was just crowned prom queen when she was killed alongside her mom, Sharice Fisher, in a triple fatal crash on Friday off of Highway 367. And it is worth remembering that Rittner High School sent out a letter to families over the weekend confirming Jordan's death, writing that it was with a heavy heart that they had to share the news. Those are the kinds of sentences no school administrator ever wants to write. For Jordan's classmates who had just watched her get crowned prom queen days earlier, that letter landed like a punch. They were supposed to be heading into graduation season with her, and now they were being asked to grieve her instead. Erica Robinson said it plainly in the days that followed. She had watched Jordan from the day she was born, and losing her alongside Sharice felt like the two brightest lights in her life going out at the same time. Rittner High School students had already been carrying grief before this crash even happened. Just weeks earlier, the school had been mourning Landon King, an 18-year-old senior who had been fatally shot outside a Quick Trip in Bridgerton in April 2026. So when word of Jordan's death came through, those students were being asked to deal with another loss before they had even finished processing the first one. Classmates placed purple flowers and notes at the Husky statue and at the Renaissance Snack Shack where Jordan had volunteered, and grief counselors from Annie's Hope were brought in from Monday, May 4th, to support students working through it. About a week after the crash, the family held a public memorial. They shared memories and photos, said prayers, and sent purple and white balloons and doves into the sky through Harrison Hall Dove Release. That same service had already organized memorials for 5 other people who died on that exact stretch of road, 5 people before Jordan and Sharice, and the people running that service said out loud that they hoped this time these losses would finally push St. Louis County to do something real about that highway. And what makes this even harder to sit with is that Missouri was going through 2 of these at the same time. Around the same period in early May 2026, Franklin County, Missouri was dealing with its own triple fatal crash, one that killed a 10-year-old girl, her mother, and her stepfather. A whole family wiped out on a Missouri road. The Harriman Middle School and Harriman High School communities were going through exactly what Rittner was going through. School grief counselors, memorials, families trying to plan funerals for people they were not ready to let go of. 2 separate Missouri towns, separate crashes, the same gut punch aftermath playing out at the same time. Missouri roads keep taking families, and the response is always the same cycle of grief, memorials, and community calls for change that somehow never become the policy changes those communities actually need. The Jordan Williams case is one piece of something much bigger, and the people who live in these communities know it. Erica Robinson said something after the arrest that showed the kind of woman her mother raised her to be. Even after losing both her mother and her sister in one night, she said that chasing the harshest possible punishment was not what my mom would have wanted. Most people couldn't find that kind of grace after something like this. That statement alone tells you everything about the woman Sharice was. 3 women lost their lives because one person made decisions he had no right to make. The case is still moving through the courts. If you want to stay updated on cases like this and whatever else comes out of this story, click the card on your screen right now. See you in the next one.